The galaxy had not known war for 1,000 years. Peace, once a fragile dream, had calcified into routine. Trade routes crisscrossed star systems like veins of light. Languages merged. Borders blurred. The Galactic Accord, signed in the aftermath of the Great Collapse, became scripture to hundreds of species. It was not enforced by weapons, but by mutual exhaustion, an understanding that war was the enemy of all. On the outer rim of Sector Icaros, a station blinked out of existence. No explosion, no debris, just gone. It was a human outpost, modest in size, strategically unimportant, but notable for one detail. It had been transmitting a classified signal no one could decode. The Council noticed. They always noticed. High Consul Aaron of Velthalos, bearer of the third mind and speaker for the Trilateral Corps, sat in silent meditation when the news came. Her translucent skin pulsed faintly in dismay. The humans had been difficult to understand from the beginning. They laughed too easily, made noise where others used silence. Their rapid ascension into spacefaring status had not followed the traditional steps of patience, obedience, or reverence. They were chaos with a flag. Across the stars, on Earth, General Aurora Lynn watched the sunrise from spire glass and steel. The skyline buzzed with vertical traffic, the air thick with synthetic clarity. Aurora's uniform shimmered faintly, white with gold filigree, the mark of Earth's unified command. She sipped her tea, scanning the transmission reports with the calm of someone used to peering into the abyss. "They're watching us again," her aide, Lieutenant Reese, said without looking up from his own data feed. "They always do," Aurora replied. "We made them nervous by existing." Reese frowned. "This time it's different. The signal from Locust 9, it activated something. Something old." Valerian archives lit up like fireworks. Their archivists even requested access to our mythology banks. Aurora raised an eyebrow. "Mythology? Yes. Specifically, human humor databases." She laughed, low and dry. "Of course. They think we're weaponizing jokes now." Reese didn't laugh. "Maybe we are." Aurora set her cup down. Outside, the city glinted with artificial serenity. Inside, she felt the weight pressing in like the air before a storm, filled with static. In the council hall, a debate churned like a solar vortex. Delegates from 63 systems floated, slithered, or stood at attention within the graviton dome. Each voice a vector of anxiety. Each sentence a permutation of the same fear. What are the humans doing? "It's not just Locust 9, barked General Verkov of the Grau Dominion, his voice like crushed stone. "We've intercepted over a dozen anomalies. Signals encoded in paradox. Jokes that corrupt linguistic AIs. Their satellites mock us. They're irreverent, not malicious," countered diplomat NIV of the Ilian Choir, her tone melodic and serene. "Humor is their coping mechanism. Or their camouflage," Verkov spat. "They've hidden a dagger in laughter." The chamber dimmed as Consul Aaron rose. When she spoke, all else fell away. "We underestimated them," she said. "We believed they would follow the pattern. Adapt, assimilate, behave. But humans do not seek peace. They endure it, and they are preparing for something." A murmur rippled across the delegates. "We must know what lies at the heart of this Project Loki," she continued. "We must understand why they smile as we tighten the noose." On Earth, Aurora stood in a sealed briefing room, facing a holographic projection of Earth's highest officials. Her expression was calm, but her fingers tapped a slow rhythm on the table. One only she understood. "Is it confirmed?" asked President Imani, her features blurred slightly by the security filter. "Yes," Aurora replied. "They've seen the leaks, and they found fragments of the original Loki protocol. Wasn't that a cold archive project? Worse, it was from the Iron Decade, before unification." Imani exhaled. "What did we leave buried?" Aurora tapped again, the rhythm now steady. Loki wasn't just a defense project. It was a memetic failsafe, a machine that could rewrite perception through humor, sarcasm, narrative inversion. We never deployed it. It was considered too volatile. But now someone or something reactivated it. Imani's face hardened. "Do they think it's a weapon? Aurora smiled faintly. To them, it is. To us, it's culture. Later that night, Aurora stood alone on the roof of Command Spire 9, watching the stars. She remembered her grandfather's stories. How Earth once feared alien invasion. How children built bunkers out of mattresses and tinfoil. Now they joked about it on live streams. Their ancestors had imagined war as cataclysmic. But war now was weirder, quieter, prelude by memes and orbital pings. She closed her eyes. The air carried the distant hum of orbital defense shields cycling into readiness. Somewhere above, a dozen alien fleets aligned their weapons and waited for orders. And down below, humanity told jokes, cracked sarcasm, made light, not because they didn't fear, but because they knew it was the only thing that still made them unpredictable. In the dark, Aurora whispered to herself, "Let them come." Because laughter, after all, was Earth's oldest weapon. The chamber of the Galactic Council floated in open void, suspended within a glass cocoon anchored to no planet, no star. It was a deliberate choice, neutral, unreachable, symbolic. The architecture was crystalline, refracting light from a blue-white dwarf sun in the distance. It shimmered as if reality itself strained to keep the conversation within contained. Aaron of Elphalos stood at the center of it all, not on a platform but suspended by invisible graviton lifts. Her ceremonial robes pulsed gently with every syllable she spoke, fibers of organic silk mimicking the ebb and flow of her neural cadence. Her voice, usually tempered and precise, now carried an edge that turned heads. "We convene under crisis," she began, not merely a diplomacy, but comprehension. Humanity has deviated from the accepted arc of civilized development. It masks military advancement beneath absurdity. It replaces doctrine with parody. It resists logic with laughter. A ripple of agreement passed through the assembly. The growl, towering reptilian warriors bred for conquest, but now retired into peacekeeping roles, nodded slowly. The Zentari, luminous and fluid like sentient gas, shimmered in contemplative silence. Only the elder races, those who survived the last war, looked wary, not of Earth, but of what pushing too far might awaken. Verkov of the Growl took the floor. He was massive, his uniform creaking against muscle and ceremonial plating. "I have studied human broadcasts," he declared, "and found myself trapped in recursive humor loops for hours. Their media, disguised as entertainment, alters logic pathways in our AIs. This is not accident. It is warfare." "They broadcast cats," said a smaller delegate from the Nwali Confederacy. "Millions of hours of felines in various states of incompetence. For what purpose?" "To erode sanity," Verkov replied without irony. Laughter, uneasy, hollow, rippled among the younger species. Only the humans would weaponize something so mundane. Aaron reasserted calm. "We must move past interpretation. The human delegation has ignored formal summons. They have sent no apology for Locust 9. Instead, they streamed a performance labeled Galactic Roast. I regret to inform you I was its primary subject." A projection lit the air. The image flickered. Aurora Lynn, seated on a throne made of discarded data pads, flanked by holographic comedians impersonating council delegates with exaggerated gestures and mocking dialogue. The audience, human and AI alike, roared in laughter. That program, Aaron said, was watched by over 2 billion humans within a day. It included falsified council protocols, misrepresented treaties, and ended with a human child explaining galactic law using sock puppets. "That last part was educational," whispered one delegate, then quickly shrank under Aaron's stare. Verkov stepped forward again. "This is psychological warfare. If not addressed, it will spread. Already our youth mimic human sarcasm. Our training AIs quote Earth comedians. This infection must be quarantined. We cannot simply declare war," interjected an IVA, her voice delicate but firm. "We have no formal provocation, no lives lost, no aggression proven." The chamber dimmed as the floor beneath shifted. An ancient mechanism activated, a tradition untouched for centuries. From a vault below rose the treaty core, an artifact of the old war, inscribed with every law of peace forged after the collapse. Aaron approached it solemnly. Let the record show that humanity has violated three fundamental principles of the Accord. First, refusal to respond to formal inquiry. Second, intentional dissemination of neural destabilization media. Third, the probable reactivation of a memetic weapon designated Loki. A murmur erupted at the name. That project was buried in pre-unification Earth history. NIVA said, "There is no confirmation." "There is enough," Aaron replied. "I move that we initiate containment procedures under Protocol Aegis 7. If Earth does not comply, military engagement is authorized." Delegates began to shift, murmur, fidget. Some had never voted on anything but trade routes and planetary wildlife designations. War was a word from old records, not a thing they had ever spoken into being. Verkov raised his heavy fist. "I second the motion." A pause. Then the vote began. One by one, species gave their assent. Some reluctantly, others with fervor. A few abstained, unable or unwilling to participate in the unthinkable. When the final count stabilized, a soft chime rang out. 68% in favor. War authorized. Erin bowed her head. The chamber's lights dimmed. Protocol's long dormant flared to life. Strategic command passed from debate to action. Within moments, orders were transmitted to Council fleets. Mobilize, converge, prepare to engage. On Earth, the reaction was instantaneous and unexpected. The declaration came in the form of a graviton pulse encoded with ceremonial phrasing. It arrived in Earth orbit and broadcast itself across all major networks, translated automatically into over 2,000 Earth dialects. The message: the Council of Galactic Harmony hereby recognizes the actions of the human species as hostile. You are hereby given 72 Earth hours to submit to containment protocols or face enforcement action. The human response came in under 1 minute. A live feed activated, featuring a man in a banana costume playing the drums. Behind him, a scrolling banner read, "We accept your war challenge, sponsored by Planet Cola." Then came the laughter. From every corner of the planet, humans laughed. Not mocking, not afraid, genuinely amused. Hashtags began to trend. Memes saturated interstellar comms. A popular news anchor wore an alien mask and read the Council's declaration using sock puppets. A game show titled Guess That Alien Invasion Plan reached 10 million views in 30 minutes. The Council scrambled. This was not the fear they expected, not the surrender, not even outrage. The humans were celebrating. In her command chamber aboard the flagship Vigilance ascended. Erin watched the feed in silence. Around her, data streams painted a picture that made no sense. Earth's defense grid was active, but not primed. No ships were retreating. In fact, a number of civilian vessels were converging toward the orbiting satellites, flashing coded lights in time with Earth's top viral music track. Verkov stormed into view. "They mock us." "Yes," Erin said softly. "And they understand something we do not. Then we strike." "No," she said, voice barely audible. "Not yet." He growled. "We authorize war. Our fleets are assembled." "And yet," she said, "every step they predicted. They expected the declaration. They choreographed this." Verkov leaned in, eyes narrowing. "Then you believe Loki is real?" "I believe," she said, slowly turning toward the display of Aurora Lynn, now giving an interview on a platform suspended over Earth's largest comedy amphitheater, "that we just declared war on the only species that prepares for battle by telling jokes." The flagship's silence grew heavier. Outside, the stars watched with indifference. Inside, the Council's fleets waited in position, locked in tension. And on Earth, the countdown to first contact had already become a music festival. Erin folded her hands. "We lit the fire. Now we wait to see what burns." 3 hours before the Council's fleet reached Earth's orbit, Aurora Lynn stood alone on the command deck of a Unity Dawn, the largest human-made vessel ever constructed. She faced the stars not as a soldier, but as a historian preparing to witness a chapter no one would believe. Beneath her boots, the ship thrummed with readiness, its systems active but restrained, an orchestra tuned but waiting on the first note. Messages continued to pour in from across the planet. Some were desperate, some mocking, and some oddly celebratory. A global poll showed that over 40% of Earth's population thought the Council's invasion was either an elaborate alternate reality game or marketing stunt. Another 10% had started betting on which alien species had the best fashion sense. The rest simply carried on, their lives barely interrupted by the reality that Armageddon had filed a formal arrival notice. Is it a strategy or is this who we are now? Reese asked quietly as he approached Aurora from behind. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes traced a faint glimmer of the approaching ships. Disciplined, angular, arranged in geometric formations only possible for civilizations that had long abandoned chaos. Maybe it's both, she said finally. Maybe we turned fear into spectacle because we got tired being afraid. Fleet is requesting protocol alignment. Defense or deference? Aurora exhaled. Neither. Open channel. Reese hesitated. To who? To everyone. He complied. The lights dimmed slightly, and the broadcast sphere came online. Across every inhabited region on Earth and dozens of off-world colonies, the signal took priority. Aurora stood at the center, framed by the stark architecture of human defiance and surrounded by the silence of a planet on the brink. This is General Aurora Lynn, she said, her voice steady. To the citizens of Earth, and to those watching from beyond, our hour has arrived. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't posture. 1,000 years of peace brought comfort, but not unity. The Council believed peace meant predictability. We were never that. We joked, we mocked, we turned their fears into punchlines, not because we didn't understand the threat, but because we did, and we made our fears speak in laughter. A pause. Somewhere in orbit, Council translators scrambled to decode her tone. They think we've insulted the Accord. They're wrong. We've rewritten it. Aurora leaned forward, the way a storyteller might before revealing a twist. We will not fire first. We will not run. We will not kneel. But know this, should you strike, you'll be striking not at soldiers, but at a culture that weaponized the absurd and turned defiance into art. She stepped back. The clock runs. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. On the Vigilance Ascendant, Consul Aaron felt something shift. Not in space. Not in data. Inside her, the speech was not a challenge. It was an invitation to rethink the assumptions they carried for millennia. She turned to Verkov, who stood bristling at the edge of control. They continue to defy, he growled. They taunt us. Aaron watched the rotating Earth in the viewport. Clouds drifting like slow thoughts. Or they offer a mirror. He turned to her, nostrils flaring. You're hesitating. No, she said. I'm observing. The more we push, the more they reflect. There is no fear, only improvisation. Humor as chaos. Chaos as shield. Then we burn them, purge the infection. And become the infection ourselves? Silence stretched. Fleet command. Verkov barked, snapping the comms open. Initiate strike pattern Aurelius 4. Disable orbital defenses. Prepare boarding protocol. Aurora's bridge lit up seconds later. Dozens of proximity alerts rang in unison. Council ships had moved. Patterns shifted. Weapons charged. Confirming target locks. Reese said. They're not bluffing. No, Aurora said softly. They never were. Around the world, defense systems rose. Sky towers bristled with kinetic lances. Earth's defense grid, mocked by the Council for being named after comedians and poets, powered on. The Unity Dawn opened its wings, revealing a lattice of light-based armor designed to bend perception as much as deflect matter. From Earth's upper atmosphere, a single Council vessel fired. A bolt of searing blue energy streaked toward the Pacific Defense Platform. It never hit. Instead, the beam fractured, split, and dispersed into a brilliant cascade of rainbows and laughter. Actual recorded human laughter, broadcast at hypervolume. Verkov stared at his console. What happened? Counter Memetics shields, Aaron said quietly. They deflected a pure energy weapon with sound and humor resonance. Another bolt followed, this one aimed at the Unity Dawn. It, too, dispersed on contact, this time triggering an explosion of visual hallucinations across the firing vessel's sensor banks. They reported seeing dancing bears in tuxedos playing violin on their targeting systems. Loki is active, Aaron whispered. They didn't build weapons. They built refracted reality. The Council fleet hesitated. On Earth, no missiles fired back. No retaliatory strikes. Just silence and music. Then came the final message. It wasn't Aurora this time. It was a child, a human girl, maybe 6 years old, sitting in a classroom floating in one of Earth's high-orbit academies. She looked into the camera, smiling, calm. "Hello," she said. "We know you're scared. Grown-ups get scared when they don't understand something. We laugh when we're scared, and sometimes we laugh too much. But it's just a hug for our brains. We don't mean harm. We mean surprise." She pointed up as though she could see them. "You thought we were dangerous because we joke. But the joke is we already changed everything. You just didn't notice." The transmission ended. No Council ship moved. In the silence, Erin breathed deep. "Stand down," she ordered. Verkov snapped toward her. "What?" "You wanted a war," she said. "They gave you theater. You wanted fear. They gave you absurdity. If we escalate, we lose. Not because of weapons, but because they've already rewritten how the story ends." He clenched his jaw, fist tight. Then slowly his shoulders dropped. They laughed their way through a doctrine. Aaron gave a rare smile. And turned invasion into the galaxy's biggest comedy show. Hours later, the fleets drifted apart like mist. No shot fired again. Back on Earth, Aurora Lynn sat with Reese in the debrief chamber, sipping tea as though none of it had happened. Outside, fireworks of non-lethal light crackled in the skies. Humanity's way of saying we're still here. "They won't come back the same," Reese said. "No," Aurora agreed. "Next time, they'll send artists instead of admirals. And what about us?" She looked toward the stars. "We'll keep laughing, because in the end, that's how we won." And above it all, the stars, ancient and watching, blinked in what could only be described as wonder.